Abstracted. I'm Michelle, and today I'm exploring the transformative power of limited palettes in abstract landscape painting. I've just completed a piece called Breaking Dawn Through Winter Mist, which you can watch me paint on my YouTube channel, and it's got me thinking about why restricting our colour choices can actually expand our artistic possibilities. Let's start by looking at why limited palettes can be such a powerful tool. First, they create incredible harmony in our work. When you're working with fewer colours, there's an automatic cohesiveness that emerges. Every element in your painting relates to every other element because they're all created from the same small family of colours. In Breaking Dawn Through Winter Mist, I used just turquoise blues, deep navy and slate greys with strategic touches of white. The result is a piece that feels unified and purposeful, where each colour transition tells part of the same story. Secondly, limited palettes help us focus on other crucial elements of our work, things like composition, texture and form. When you're not juggling a rainbow of colours, you can really go deep into how you're using your tools to create interest and movement. In my recent piece, you can see how the focus shifted to creating dramatic light effects and atmospheric depth through texture and mark making. And third, working with a limited palette can help us better understand colour relationships. When you're working with just a few colours, you start to notice subtle variations and interactions that might get lost in a more complex palette. You begin to see how the same blue can appear completely different depending on what is placed next to, or how the tiniest shift in tone can create dramatic effects. So when it comes to choosing your limited palette, and before you even pick up a brush or palette knife, consider the emotional response you want to evoke. Ask yourself, what's the dominant feeling of the scene? What time of day is it? What's the weather doing? What season are you capturing? For Breaking Dawn Through Winter Mist, I wanted to capture that ethereal moment when early light breaks through winter fog. This naturally led me to turquoise blues for the crisp winter sky, deep navy for the mysterious shadows, slate greys for the misty atmosphere, and white for that breakthrough moment of dawn light. So let me share 5 key tips for working successfully with limited palettes. Choose colours with purpose. As I just said, start by deciding what emotion or atmosphere you want to convey. Your colour choices should support the story you're trying to tell. Consider atmosphere and weather. So for misty conditions, you might be thinking of whites and greys. Time of day. For dawn, you might be thinking of soft pinks. For the season, you might want cool blues and greys for winter, but very different colours for spring and summer. For location, coastal scenes, you might be leaning into your blues again and aqua tones. You will have your own colour associations for different atmospheres and weather conditions, different times of day, different seasons and locations. So it's really important to think about them and identify what they are. It's also important to create a value range. Even with just a few colours, make sure you have a good range of values, from light to dark. In my recent piece, the deep navy provides rich darks, while the white creates brilliant highlights, with the turquoise and greys offering middle values. This value range is crucial for creating depth and interest in your work. And explore temperature contrasts. Even within a limited palette, you can play with temperature. Include at least one warm and one cool tone, even if you're leaning heavily toward one temperature. Notice how even in my predominantly cool palette in my recent painting, there are subtle warm undertones in some of the greys that create tension and interest. And before starting your main piece, create a mixing chart with your chosen colours. Really explore what happens when you combine them in different ratios. You'll often discover beautiful intermediate tones that can add richness to your work. Working wet on wet, as I do, these combinations can happen right on the canvas, creating gorgeous, unexpected effects. And use your tools strategically. Different tools can create different effects with the same colours. In Breaking Dawn Through Winter Mist, I use my palette knife for bold strokes, the catalyst wedge for blending and creating atmospheric effects, the mop brush for softer transitions, and the sponge for adding and removing paint to create texture. Each tool helps you get more mileage out of your limited palette. And some pro tips for success. Always consider your surface colour as part of your palette. Include both transparent and opaque colours. Test your combinations before starting. And don't be afraid to push the boundaries of your chosen colours. Working wet and wet with a limited palette requires confidence and decisiveness. You need to trust your instincts because colours will mix and mingle on the canvas. But this can lead to some of the most beautiful effects, those moments of serendipity where colours blend in unexpected ways. Your limited palette doesn't have to stay the same for every painting either. While I chose blues and greys for this winter dawn piece, you might choose warm earth tones for an autumn scene, or deep purples and blues for a twilight moment. The key is selecting colours that work together to express your vision. I found that some of my most successful pieces have come from limiting my palette. There's something about the constraint that pushes creativity, forcing us to find new ways to express what we want to say. If you're working with a limited palette yourself, I'd love to see what you're creating. Head over to my Instagram and share your work, or drop me a message about your colour experiments. If you're interested in exploring your colour story further, to identify the colours that really resonate with your emotions and memories, and learn how to use them in an abstract landscape painting, then don't forget to check out my course, Unlock Your Unique Colour Story. The link is in the show notes. So until next time, keep exploring, keep feeling and keep creating. Remember, sometimes less really is more. Bye for now.